Hey, y'all, you're listening to the Chicken Fried Women podcast with me, your host, Melissa Radke, the original recipe. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Chicken Fried Women, the podcast. This is where the South meets the mouth, okay? This is friendship, kinship, and the stories that made us this way. And today, my guest, I don't know. It's just my Aunt Melba. I don't know really what more to say about that. It's my Aunt Melba. I believe you meeting her will be the introduction that really is all you'll need. So here she is, everybody. Welcome to Aunt Melba. I told you this was literally us just talking. There's nothing to be nervous about.
I'm a nervous wreck.
What? This is just us talking.
Because people don't take to me.
I told you the other day you were not nurturing and you got mad at me. And essentially you're saying the same thing right now.
I'm not nurturing. And I have RBF.
No. And
I try not to.
an IUD and a UTI. That's what I meant to
I
say.
don't have a UTI.
She's got RBF, UTI.
I don't have UTI.
And what do you call it when you've got, one of our aunts had the gut health?
Oh,
What do you call that?
I don't have that either.
What's that called?
Is it got a G? Gastro?
She would always run to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I have to go to the bathroom because I've got
IBS.
IBS.
I don't have IBS.
Okay. Have you ever had a DUI? Good Lord. What is going on? All right. The other night we were at a soccer game watching Remy play soccer, and it was all my family there. Melba was there. Melba was there.
Melba.
Aunt Melba was there. Meredith was there. Her daughter, Julian, my parents, me and David. And then I took my dog, Shep, and my parents took their dog, Cooper. It was a whole fam. And we kept changing spots because Melba would get cold and then she would need to move where it was warmer. And then Meredith would need to move where her back could have a chair. And then I would move, and everybody was moving around the whole time. I'm telling you that, okay, that's a podcast. Like, all we have to do is just talk about that.
Why don't you just bring it out there and we do it?
Bring it out there. Speaking of we do it. Aunt Melba's going to tell y'all some stories about when her and Donald first got married. Speaking of doing it. Is that a good segue for you? She said that she has a story to tell me that has been in the family for years, but I don't think, I'm old enough to remember the story.
You weren't.
But my parents know it and they think it's hysterical.
Because your mother found it. A devil.
Okay, so what is it?
Well, at first I have to preface by saying I married my best friend. Donald was his name. And we dated 5.5 years because my daddy told me he wouldn't give me his blessing. So we dated 5.5 years before we got married.
What did that mean?
He didn't like Donald because he was.
Who didn't like Donald?
Well, he was a year and 10 months younger than me.
Oh.
And he thought I'd robbed the cradle, and he said it was just puppy love for him. So I needed to let him date other people, and I did. I made him go out on other dates.
Did you really? But he was not interested in anybody? Like, was there ever a time he was interested?
I think one girl in our church, I think he was interested. No, I'm not going to tell your name.
Tell me her name right now. No, ain't nobody going to know. I probably won't even know.
Darla.
Really? That married Brad?
No.
That Darla?
No.
Oh, that's Robin.
That's her sister.
Okay. Really?
We should say that.
Okay. But it's a compliment though.
But he was very crazy about her. They were friends.
Really?
But I was a year and 10 months older.
Okay.
And Daddy didn't think that was good. He thought that he needed to date more.
Which I have to say nowadays is like nothing. Nowadays, a year and 10 months older. Ooh, like no.
I know nowadays, but back then he just thought it was horrible.
Really? I don't think I ever knew y'all dated 5.5 years. Wow.
And we were both virgins when we got married. We were. Trust me, our honeymoon was horrible.
I thought you were going to say it was great.
We didn't know what we were doing.
Okay.
So it took a while.
Stop. Okay. First of all, 5.5 years, you may have been virgins, but you weren't. What is that? David, producer, help me. I'm not saying your wedding dress shouldn't have been white, but it should have been an ivory color.
It was ivory.
Come on. It's not like y'all didn't fool around.
Well, we tried a little, but we did not have sex. And I feel like that's so important. And I don't feel like people give that message anymore. Probably because they didn't do that.
Probably because they're off to having too much sex.
We did, and I think that's what made us soulmates. I really do.
Well, when we got married, David and I thought we had sex. I thought we had. That's what. So, like, I kept saying to David, we would make out and stuff, and I'd be like, "We had sex," and David'd be like, "I don't know what you think sex is, but we didn't have it." And I'll be like, we did. And he'd be like, well, no, we didn't. And then on our honeymoon night, we had sex. And I was like, no, we didn't. We didn't have sex. And I get what you're saying but I looked at David and I was like, we were virgins when we got married, but by the skin of our teeth.
Barely. We weren't, because we had all kinds of interruptions. We met in the youth group. Well, and not even in the youth group. I started bringing him to church because he moved here and he had a twin brother and they weren't going to church yet. And I invited him to come to youth group. And I said, I'll pick you up. I had my license and he didn't.
But how did you know him?
We met at school.
I thought he went to Lufkin and you went to Hudson.
He went to Hudson first. And then he moved to Lufkin.
Did you?
Because they moved into Lufkin.
Did you think he was cute right away?
Oh, yeah.
Really? I have never known this.
We started talking.
One grade below or two?
Two.
So you were like, let's say a junior and he was a sophomore, or he would have been a freshman.
He was a freshman and I was a junior.
Whoa, I did not know that. So you noticed him right away, thought he was cute, and then said, let me pick him up.
I said, I'll bring y'all to youth group. You need to come to youth group at church. Well, they started coming with me every Wednesday night. I would go pick them up. We had a ball, but we had a lot of friends in the youth group because that's where we spent our time. And they interrupted us all the time. They always wanted to go with us everywhere. I don't mean interrupted us in the act. I just mean they interrupted our making out.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just terrible. They'd knock on the window and there they'd be, and they'd all climb in the car and we'd have to go somewhere.
And I didn't have phones back then. So everybody was out doing things with their friends.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
When we followed ambulances a lot and fire trucks.
We live in a small town.
Yes, we do. So let me tell you about our honeymoon. Was horrible because we didn't know what we were doing. And so when we got home, I relaxed a lot, and that was nice. I relaxed and I started trying to think of all these neat things we could do. And so my grandma had given me an oil lantern, the old-timey oil lantern. And I thought it was so cool. We got married January 3rd. So we were going over to Mom's for lunch on Sunday, the whole family, and it would be our first time to see everybody. I mean, I'd seen Mom, but I hadn't really seen everybody yet. Mm-hmm. So we were going over there for lunch, but that morning it was rainy and cold and we weren't going to church. And my daddy pulled up in the yard, honking the horn. Are y'all going to church? And I said, well, we're not really this morning, but we'll be back in.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
It was like literally 2 days after your wedding.
Yeah. And he lived next door, so he could see that.
Okay.
So, yeah, our honeymoon was horrible. So it was only 3 days because we asked Donald when we went to Austin, and I asked him, I said, now, how much money did you leave in the bank? Because I'm going to register for school as soon as we get back. He brought all of it. He brought all of our money.
Really?
Yeah. So we couldn't do anything. So we didn't leave the room for 3 days.
Melba, do you know that when David and I pulled out of the parking lot of the church with the cans on the back of the car, the whole bit, I said, did you get out money? And he said, no, I thought you said you were getting out money. And we went on our honeymoon and we ate at Checkers, drive-in hamburgers, like every single day and night, because that's all we could afford.
Our first meal after, because at the reception, you don't eat anything. All you can do is just visit. And we didn't have a meal anyway. We just had back then cake and punch. And we went to Sonic and halved a foot-long hot dog with chili on it.
That's
so
funny.
Anyway, back to we came home and it was a cold, rainy day and Daddy blew the horn and I told him I wasn't going to church and he thought I was a sinner. And so we might as well do something.
I'll show you. Let's turn that oil lamp on, baby.
So I said, let's light this oil lamp. It'll be so cool. And it was dark, cloudy outside. Yeah. And so it was nice.
The end.
So we go over to Mother's For what? I mean, just right, not long after, maybe a couple of hours. And we're all sitting there and what did y'all do? What y'all do? Well, we didn't do anything because we didn't have any money. We had tickets to a Texas Longhorns basketball game because my friend played for the girls team and she gotten us tickets. So we did do that. We went to the big Texas Longhorns game and it was fun. Basketball, girls basketball, but it was fun. And it was the only thing that we really got to do. And we were telling them about it and everything.
And was I there? My parents would have been, right?
Yeah. You might have been a baby running around, but...
Because I was your flower girl.
Well, you were there.
Yeah. So I was about
You
8.
surely weren't at the table. We wouldn't have ever talked to... Well,
yes,
your mother
actually,
would've.
yes, y'all would have. Y'all talked very inappropriate.
Your mother would have. Because we were sitting there talking and she kept looking at me funny. And I said, what are you doing? And she said, there's something in your nose. And I said, I can't believe I'm telling this on
to the world.
And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, there's something in both of y'all's noses.
What?
I didn't know this because I've never used an oil lamp. But they put off a gas or something that causes... Well, like ash in a fireplace. They put off ash, I guess.
Okay.
And the inside of our nostrils, because we were breathing heavy.
Wait, the inside of your nostrils
were black. They were just black on the inside and we didn't even see it.
Shut up.
They were black.
You didn't
cold
see it
black.
in Donald's nose?
No, I didn't see it.
Because you weren't looking at his face.
One looking at his...
That's right.
We have a lot of making up to do.
My gosh. What did you say?
5.5 years of suppression.
Suppression, oppression, depression. What did you do at the table? Did you tell them? You had to have.
Did I tell them what?
Y'all, it's an oil lamp. We lit an oil lamp and we did it this morning.
I didn't say we did it. My daddy would have knocked me back.
No, he would not have.
Well, I just told him that it was so cold and rainy. We turned on Granny's oil lamp and he said, you used an oil lamp? I didn't know they did that.
My mother had a blast with that.
Never shut up about it. She told it to everybody. She was a devil.
Hey, did you know that the Chicken Fried Women podcast is being brought to you by my new book, Chicken Fried Women, coming out April 22nd? I have a question for you. Have you pre-ordered it yet? Go to Amazon.com or wherever you buy books and order one for you and your bestie and your mom and your college roommate. You get what I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say. Okay.
But that wasn't as embarrassing as the next story.
Oh, gosh. Are y'all still having sex in the next story?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, Aunt Melba has a healthy sex life. Well, not anymore because Uncle Donald is in heaven. May he rest until she gets there.
Absolutely. He's saving me a seat.
For it.
So I call this one, well, I'm not.
What do you call it? Just give us a title.
Condom City.
Oh, okay. You know what? Go. I know this story. I don't know all the ins and outs of this story.
Well, your daddy was leaving for work.
Okay.
And my daddy was down in the creek down there at the bottom of y'all's hill. Digging.
Okay.
With a shovel.
Okay.
And he had on waders.
Oh, okay, gross. So I have heard the end of the story, but I don't know all the ins and outs. So I'm very interested.
Well, we were newlyweds and we didn't know anything about condoms. And I thought they were biodegradable. Isn't that a word? Biodegradable?
I don't think it was in the early 80s, but yes, it is a word.
Well, I looked it up before I came down here and it says some condoms are biodegradable.
Well, that's because
but the ones we used, well, that might be true.
Yeah.
But the ones we used evidently weren't. And they stopped up Daddy's septic because our septic ran into Daddy's septic. Not septic, but sewer system. And it ran off and it stopped up.
But you did not know at the time that's what it was. You just knew our pipes are clogged.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know it was Daddy's pipes that were clogged. Because by the time it got to Daddy's, there was quite the buildup.
So their pipes were plugged. So Papa comes down and he's going to look at the septic.
And he starts digging.
Was Donald with him?
No.
Okay.
No. Gene came down because he was leaving for work and he saw him and he rolled down the window and Daddy came over and talked to him and said, "You go up there and tell Melba Joy that I said I'm going to kill her when I see her." And he had uncovered a lot of sin, but it wasn't sin.
When he literally went to go,
It was just
tons and tons. Shut up, Melba.
stomping it up. He was so mad.
Melba,
He made Donald come down there and help him in the afternoon.
Melba,
He had to pick them all up.
how many condoms would it take to clog up a septic system?
I don't know.
No, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. How many would you say? Are we talking 15?
Daddy said probably 150.
No.
I don't think it was that many. I mean, it would look like a lot. Because it was only about 6 months after we married. So it couldn't have been that many.
Stop. 6 months at 30 days a month. That is 180 days. That is
Well, see?
150 condoms. That is essentially you are having sex 5 to 6 times a week.
We had done our duty. We had waited. And we could make up for lost time. And that's what we did.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. And I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, okay? But I have always heard if you, what is it they say? If you put a penny or a jelly bean or whatever in a jar every time you have sex your first year of marriage, then take one out every time you have sex the rest of your marriage, you'll never empty it. I didn't do that, but I think you're living proof that perhaps, would y'all say your sex life was that healthy throughout?
No, because he had heart problems.
So funny.
So no, it wasn't.
Did y'all have trouble when you had 2 kids and teenagers in the house? That's our issue.
Yes, we had to get a crazy lock for our door.
Because they
would come in.
Just bust in. Okay. And I've had a lot of my friends tell me, that's not good. Y'all shouldn't have your kids just walk into your room. But we do. I mean, we do. And I don't think they, remember Modern Family?
Yes.
When the kids walk in on Claire and Phil, and then the little boy goes, I don't know what they were doing. But you have, let's be honest, in our family, you have always had a little bit of a bent towards sexuality.
Well, I waited a long time.
Melba, you like to have it all the time.
But I didn't get to.
Some women go through seasons where they're not interested, like after they hit 40.
I don't think I ever did.
And now he's dead. What are you doing, woman?
16 years.
She has been a widow for 16 years. I told her before we started, I said, no, but don't worry about telling a story. We'll just talk about how you're ready to date again.
I didn't say that. No, I didn't.
But you didn't stop me. You didn't correct me.
No, I said I think we were soulmates for that reason.
I know.
I wasn't ever with anybody else.
I know.
He wasn't ever with anybody else.
But would you be willing to date now?
I'm not even going to go there.
Fine.
And I would not ever go on Tinder or any of those things. It would have to be totally organic.
No, we can't. We can't
across the tomato aisle or something.
Oh, squeezing the melon. Which is sad because no one grocery shops anymore. People have their groceries delivered. But we can't barely get her to do correct on Facebook. We sure as heck aren't going to put her on Tinder, for God's sake.
No, I can't even watch podcasts. I've got to figure that out. Because I really think I would like them.
Especially now that she's on one. Did your children ever walk in on y'all?
What?
Really? Tell me about it.
Meredith did. And we just heard this. What are y'all doing in here?
Oh, so she was young.
Yeah.
So she couldn't see.
No.
Okay. Will you please tell about the time that you tried to swat a bee in a wasp in the window? It was again after
Sunday
church
afternoon.
And she was naked. Honest to goodness, these people.
It was a Sunday afternoon and you nap on a Sunday afternoon.
I don't do it naked, but yes, to each his own.
So I heard it it was, we lived in a mobile home and the windows came down, but this one we didn't close it all the way because it would let a little breeze in. So there was a wasp in the window. Well, I heard it. And so I got up to the window and I was tapping it like this to get the wasp to go away. And the neighbor was right across the fence looking at me. He died shortly thereafter.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah.
You have a way with the men. My word. Okay, y'all, that's my Aunt Melba. I know you've enjoyed it. Don't worry. We're going to have her back for a second episode. So stay tuned to Chicken Fried Women, the podcast. This is one of the OGs, the Chicken Fried Women. Love y'all. Bye. Thanks so much for being here today, where we get to talk about our friendships and our kinships and the stories that made us this way. Till next time.